Good evening. Welcome to the monthly business meeting of the Unified Government of Athens-Clarke County. Anyone who wants an agenda for the meeting, you can get there on the right of the doors, doors to the chamber, just to the right and on a table out there. And if you're watching remotely, you can go to the Athens-Clarke County, Athens-ClarkeCounty.com website to get an agenda, to access an agenda. If you've got a cell phone here in the house, please turn it off or to silent. There'll be 5 opportunities tonight for public input. The first will be on our consent agenda, which are items 1 through 8, a public hearing on a recommendation from the Historic Planning Preservation, item 9, and then under old business, item number 10 will have public input, and item number 11, which was under new business, I've removed from tonight's agenda, so there won't be comments on that one. There'll be a public hearing on recommendations from our Planning Commission, items 12 through 14. And I'll let you all know as each of these opportunities are available, so you don't have to worry about getting to the podium at the right time. So welcome. We're happy to have you here. Our rules of commission, I'll just tell you this real quick so I don't forget it. Each person who comes to the podium to speak to us is allowed 3 minutes. And there's a timing clock on Ms. Spratlin's desk here, which will be green when you start, and it'll turn yellow when you've got 30 seconds left. So please try to have your comments complete. And before we start our actual business meeting tonight, some of you may have noticed we got a pretty full house because we got some very special people here tonight. And most of these people that they're here tonight have worked with us on Envision Athens. And I've got a statement I want to read, and then we'll ask each of them to come forward and be recognized by one of our co-chairs. In fall of 2016, the Athens-Clarke County community began a journey to develop a common vision and strategic goal to address community and economic development. The purpose of the plan was to engage both public and private entities to begin working together toward common goals so it could bring about transformational change to our community. The Envision Athens plan is aspirational and represents the ideas of thousands of citizens and stakeholders who invested hundreds of hours of time to discuss and plan for the future of our community. In all, 1,621 individuals participated, providing more than 8,600 unique comments, both in person and online throughout this process. What has emerged is a bold, achievable action agenda. And anybody that doesn't believe how much work went into it, this is the action agenda. And they're not done yet. So, but this is a lot of work already. What emerged is a bold, achievable action agenda, a prioritization of discrete projects, policies, and programs organized under 14 different topic areas such as economic development, education, healthcare, land use, etc., along with implementation strategies that will help unite our community and move us forward together. A key step was forming a steering committee to oversee the process. Initially, this involved 20 members representing the local institutional partners. These organizations stepped forward and funded the planning process. These partners are Clarke County School District, Athens Housing Authority, Athens Area Chamber of Commerce, Georgia Power, Unified Government of Athens-Clarke County, Piedmont Athens Regional Medical Center, St. Mary's Hospital, University of Georgia, City of Winterville, Athens Technical College, and United Way of Northeast Georgia. Looking back to make sure I hadn't missed anybody. In addition to these, original steering committee members made an intentional decision to design a process to be inclusive and community-driven. To this end, they added 18 citizens to the steering committee based on the actual demographics of our composition of our community with regard to age, gender, sex, race, ethnicity, and geographic location, thereby ensuring that the plan would have diverse input and be inclusive and reflective of the entire community. In addition to providing input and leadership throughout the process, the steering committee members authored the following vision for this effort. We aspire to reach our full potential in unity, prosperity, equity, and compassion. The sense of togetherness motivates increased pride, unparalleled civic enterprise, and significant progress. That's just a little 2-sentence statement, but it is a very important statement. So much so that I stumbled over it. I'm going to read it again. We aspire to reach our full potential in unity, prosperity, equity, and compassion. The sense of togetherness motivates increased pride, unparalleled civic enterprise, and significant progress. And I think that's what this group has shown throughout this progress, is evidenced by this action agenda, and the fact that every one of them have been just very diligent throughout the whole process. Tonight, we're here to recognize those who served on the steering committee and to thank each of them publicly for their dedicated service to our community over the past 18 months. As I call your name, would you please come forward to be recognized, and then stay up front so we can get a group photo. Mr. Bob Booge, who co-chaired the committee along with Sharon Dickerson, who is here giving out the certificates. Doc Eldridge, Athens Chamber of Commerce. Is Doc here? Dean Manheimer, Athens Area Chamber of Commerce. Rick Parker, Athens Housing Authority. Michelle Pearson, Athens Housing Authority. Dr. Andrea Daniel, Athens Technical College. Is Andrea here? Dodd Farrell, City of Winterville. Yeah, I think they have the same night. They meet the same night we do. Diana Hartle of City of Winterville. Is she on the commission? No. Okay. Linda Davis, Clarke County School District. Dr. Zerona Thomas, Clarke County School District. Lynn Chandler, Georgia Power. And I will mention that Lynn has retired, and since this is an ongoing work product, he will have Tony Ferguson replacing him with Georgia Power. Yeah. Yeah, come on up and be in the picture. Yeah. Dr. Charles Peck at Piedmont Athens Regional. Elaine Cook, Piedmont Athens Regional. Mike Canby, Unified Government of Athens-Clarke County. It's a way to sneak in.
That's pretty tricky.
Yeah. Emily Nichols, United Way of Northeast Georgia. Allison McCulloch, University of Georgia. I thought I saw that. Yeah, there she is. Roswell Lawrence, University of Georgia. John L. Simpson. Deborah Lonan. Our own Deborah, she's not here. Houston Gaines. Beto Mendoza. Heather Benham. Richie Knight. Broderick Flanagan. Catherine Nisi. Is Catherine here?
Houston.
Ann Hunter. Susan Dodson. Wilson Lattimore. Danny Riddle. Nikaya Payne. Aaron Barger. Alejandra Calva. Barbara, Lady B. Sims. Can't believe Lady B's not here. Yeah. Caroline Pazkowski. And Whit Richardson. And okay. Carol Kirchman, Athens Housing Authority.
These are support people that help. They weren't steering committee members, but certainly helped make me and Bob's job a lot easier in the committee. So we wanted to recognize them if they're here. So.
Right. Jane Smith, Athens Housing Authority. Brad Griffin. No, Brad's here. Brad, come on in. You're holding up the progress here. Cynthia Lambright, Executive Assistant, Office of Athens-Clarke County Manager. Gavin Hasimer, Special Projects with ACC Planning Department. Is Gavin here? And Blaine Williams, Athens-Clarke County Manager. Brad, come on in. We can't take the picture. You're here. Well, y'all can scoot in. Y'all, Sharon, y'all can scoot in some here. But some there. Can you get everybody? But do you think you got everybody? Because that's a big group of folks, and thank all of you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Supplies. You go and watch this on TV.
I think this is the biggest group we've ever honored here in behind the rail.
No, they're mine. That's my favorite.
I have mine open
Lemon. Close the door.
because I know what we got dinner for.
I love that glass.
Would someone close the door for us, please?
You're a chatty girl.
Long hours, long hours. It's good.
That was pretty wonderful. I think that's the largest group we've ever recognized at one time, and very well deserved. We're going to move on to our agenda now, and if anyone brought any handouts that they would like to share with us, if you'd hand them to Mr. Berryman here behind the rail, he'll make sure that we get them. Ms. Bratton, would you call the roll, please?
Dickerson.
Here.
Sims. Here. Flink.
Here.
Wright.
Present.
Bailey.
Woof.
Neesmith. Bale.
Go dogs.
Harrod. Gertz.
Here.
Hamby.
Here. You didn't call my name.
Neesmith.
Go Dogs.
I was waiting for you.
Well, maybe I owe an explanation for why I'm not in a dog shirt. I lost a bet, and to the mayor of Tuscaloosa, and so I appreciate my colleagues here and their support of both me and our Bulldogs, because we have every reason to be proud of them. That last game, getting to where they did in that last game, is one of the most exciting sporting events I've ever been to, and I can't imagine a finer group of young men than those that played that night. So, go Dogs. I have a motion for approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any written communication, Ms. Bratton? Okay. We will now move on to citizen input, and the first citizen input section is for the consent agenda, and that's for items 1 through 8. So anyone who would like to speak to one of those items, please come to the podium, identify yourself, and give us your address where you live, and let us know which item you're speaking to.
Hello,
Hello?
I'm Amber Fedner, and I'm commenting on item number 2, which is the expansion of the sidewalk on Prince Avenue, I believe. And it seems a good time to present a petition for our neighborhood to also build a pedestrian safety island and crosswalk on Prince Avenue between Pound Street and Bostrom Road, so that citizens have a safe way to travel from the Social Security building to the bus stop, to the Health Sciences campus, and also to Bishop Park. We saw from GDOT's Georgia Pedestrian Safety Action Plan draft that 2016, Georgia had the highest number of pedestrian fatalities since 1975. So we want to do everything we can to cut down on those. So I want to present this petition to you from our neighbors, and thank you for expanding the sidewalk on Prince Avenue to make it safer.
Does the young man have anything he'd like to say to us?
Absolutely not. He's kind of
Hey.
terrified to just be standing here.
What's his name?
Calvin Fettner.
Calvin. Go Dogs.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks to the vote on T-Splosh, we're going to have the money to do a lot of these kind of things that we would not have had in the past. So Mr. Berryman will take the petition. Thank you for coming, Ms. Fettner. Anyone else wish to speak to the consent agenda? Oh, did you?
Mayor, in that section, it's going to take the DOT approval to make
Right.
that happen. And just,
Yeah.
I mean, we're supportive of the idea, but it's
Yeah.
DOT that has the control of that section.
Did you hear that, Ms. Fettner? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to items 1 through 8? Okay, seeing none, we'll come behind the agenda. Would any commissioner, behind the rail, would any commissioner like to remove an item?
I'd like to
Yes.
move item 4 for discussion.
Okay. Item 4 will go to the top of our old business when we get there.
I have one. I'd like to remove item 6 just for a quick question.
Okay, you want to add, you can go ahead and ask that. Ms.
Okay, yeah, this is the Boulevard Woods Park, Phase 2, the next phase in expanding the park with the little amphitheater and play space. And when this process kind of formally started several years ago, there was some talk of creating a formal process for other neighborhoods to follow, so we can get some more of these pocket parks in other neighborhoods. And I'd like to ask the manager if there's any efforts being made to solidify that formal process.
We have not solidified that, so
Okay.
we need to work on that.
Okay, great, thank you. You can put it back on the consent agenda.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I don't need to remove it, so in the spirit of Commissioner Link's, I could just make a comment about number 5 Southeast Clarke Park, which is, we have spent millions of dollars on this park. Now we have a new master plan, and Ben Epps Park is sitting with no money being spent on it in many years, and with a master plan that's been in place for many years, I want to encourage staff and the mayor and commission to bring this park up to the top. It needs it. It's languishing. It needs help.
Thank you. Anybody else with anything they want to remove from consent? Okay, do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move adoption of consent agenda.
Second.
That's item number 4.
Second.
Have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any
I've gotta read
opposed?
that.
Yes, sir. Please, thank you.
An ordinance to amend the FY 2018 annual operating and capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide grant funding, if awarded, from the Georgia Criminal Justice Coordinating Council for personal service and operating expenses for domestic violence case supervision and for other purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Perryman. Now we have a public hearing on the recommendation from the Historic Preservation Commission, which is to create a landmark designation for the Lehman Bancroft House at 392 South Pope Street. Is there anyone here that wants to speak to that item?
I'm Barbara Redmond, and I'm the owner of the property in question, and I would like to urge you to approve this. This is important for the history of Athens. This is 1830s era house, and I'd like to be assured that at whatever time that I'm no longer around, to be able to protect it myself, that it would be protected, that couldn't be torn down in somebody's fit of redevelopment. I just think this is the right thing to do for Athens. I don't believe there would be any other effects on anyone but myself, and I think this is the best for the community, for the city of Athens.
Thank you, Ms. Redmond. Anyone else wish to speak to this item? Okay, we'll come back behind the rail. Would any of our commissioners like to address that? Ms. Link?
I just want to thank Ms. Redmond for taking this step to protect this house, and I hope that there are other property owners out there who have similar historic properties that will take that step. I think it's really important that we do as much as we can to preserve our history, and this is something that individual property owners can do on their own to see to it that that happens. So on that, I'd like to move that we adopt this.
I'll second that.
Motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes, sir. Ordinance, please.
An ordinance
We
to
keep
amend the
forgetting
Code of
you.
Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to historic preservation, designation of the Lehman Bancroft House, and for other purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Perryman.
Should we vote again, since he hadn't read the?
I think we've all read it, but
Okay.
just for the form, we'll say, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item, the next business that we act on tonight is old business, which are items 10, 11, no, 11's been removed, so just 10 and 16. And 16 is one that was added late, so,
We have number 10, is number 10 not relevant? Old business, number 10?
yes, I thought I said 10 and 16. And actually, number 4 too, since we brought it forward on the action agenda, so anyone wish to speak to any of those? 4, 10, or 16? Okay, seeing none, we'll come behind the rail. Don't have any ordinances on this one, do we, Mr. Behrman? No. Okay. So start with number 4, which was the live stream. And would you like to speak to that, Ms. Dickerson?
Yeah, so I felt like it wasn't very clear, and I just wanted to make sure that we all know what we're voting on. And so I have a couple of questions. I talked to the manager this afternoon about a few, but I wanted to make sure I understood. So on page 2 of the document under facts and issues, item number 5, it says that that Weatherly Woods, which is project 4, location 4, and location 7, which is Kennedy Drive, are currently being addressed. My question is, if they're currently being addressed, are they included in this dollar figure already? Or have we encumbered that money, and the 1.4 that we have available, is that available for everything else that's on the list, or is it, or not?
It is part, there was a late add to the live, sorry, hold on.
We've encumbered 986,000, and these two projects together account for 675 if they are included in that, but I wasn't sure.
If there was a, sorry, I'm having a hard time here. There was an ad, facts and issues added, number 10.
Right.
That explains where we got the 1.5 from, and so those two projects will come out of the 1.5 million.
Okay, so,
Meaning, Commissioner, they're not part of the encumbered amount in the
Right.
budget section.
So, so my concern is that in the motion, with the way the motion reads, it's adopt the priorities as shown in attachment 1, approve 26 project concepts, and authorize staff to develop construction plans. My concern is, if items 4 and 7 are currently underway, I would like to make sure that the motion specifically says that they're fully funded, and not inferred that they're on the list, and, you know what I mean? I'm just concerned that we're not saying they're funded at this point, that it's gonna come out of the 1.4, but if it says we're gonna approve them in priority order. Item number 7 says, if approved, Transportation and Public Works staff proposes to use available stormwater utility enterprise funding to deliver these pipe replacements as prioritized. If you go with that wording, then my project won't get, the number 4, which is one of the projects in my district, will not get funded. And I just want to make sure we're clear as to what's getting funded out of this 1.4. And I guess, so what I guess I'm going to suggest is that the motion be amended to read, adopt the live stream pipe replacement program priorities, fully funding projects 4 and 7, and using remaining funds going forward as listed on attachment 1, or any imminent threats that may come about. Because obviously, if there's an imminent threat, that list goes by the wayside, from what I understand. That's what, I just want to make sure it's clear that the funding is going to be used on those two projects, even though it says it's underway, because the motion did not make that clear. So that's my motion.
Do I have a second or any further
I
discussion?
still don't understand. I'm not understanding.
So
your
there's a
part.
list that was provided to us that gives the projects, and by the way it's written, at least in my mind, and maybe it's just me, but the way it's written, we are approving the list of projects, and we're approving of 1.4 million. But there's no specific project that 1.4 million is going to. However, we have said in the facts and issues, we say projects 4 and 7 are underway, and we're gonna do them. But it's, to me, I just want it to be affirmative that this money is going towards those projects, and those projects are, because they're 4 and 7, they're not 1, 2, and 3. You follow me?
I'm just wondering how that goes into a motion. I'm not capturing.
Well, I just said it, but I can
Can you restate it, Sharon, because I think you captured, but how much did, were 4 and 7?
4 and 7 account for 675,000.
And with what's encumbered, there's not that much left is the concern. That
Well,
that we're listing more projects than that we're providing the money to pay for. And Commissioner Dickinson is trying to make sure that this particular one, which is a very critical one, is fully funded.
well, I think the point I'm trying to make, and I'm obviously not doing a very good job of this tonight, but my point is, staff has said in item 5 that 4 and 7 are currently underway, but they're not encumbered in any of the money above, okay? So now we're saying, okay, so they're underway, but we haven't said for sure they're gonna get funded. And we don't say that in the wording says we're gonna approve the funding based on the prioritization on attachment 1. If we're approving funding on prioritization number 1, you add up the first 3 projects in order, they're gonna eat up all the funding. And that means item 4 and 7, which are currently underway, are not gonna get funding. That's what I'm trying to make a point of.
Well, I would point to Facts and Issues 8 that says, we want to get these priorities in line, but we want to leave some flexibility where if it does become an imminent threat, we'll take care of it. And in staff's opinion, since that list was generated, 4 and 7 have become an imminent issue. But we're fine with the clarification, because that's exactly what we're doing anyway, so.
Yeah, I just wanna make it clear, that's all. I just want,
I'll second the motion.
Okay,
do I
we
need
have
to
a motion, second.
reread the motion, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead and restate the motion,
Okay,
please.
so, see if I can do this on the fly again. All right, so, it'll be option 1A, adopt the and B and C, but A will be amended to say, adopt the live stream pipe replacement program priorities, to approve, but to specifically approve projects 4 and 7 with full funding, and remaining funds going forward to support projects on attachment 1 or any imminent threats as they arise.
Yep, I think that's pretty clear. Okay, we have motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Sorry, that was painful.
But it was important, so that's okay. Okay, we will now move to item number 10, which is the Riverview Road Emergency Culvert Repair.
And this is an example of one imminent issue
Right.
that needs to, and so we're set up to do this very thing. I'll make a motion for number 10.
Second.
Have a motion and second for approval of item number 10. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Madam Mayor, move for suspension of rules.
Thank you. Actually, I've pulled that item from the agenda, so,
Item 16.
for 16, okay. So number 16 needs to go in there too. Have a motion for suspension of rules. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now we will move to item number 16.
Are we going to 16?
I'm trying to figure out what the hands going up are for discussion. Mr. Gertz?
I'd worked a little bit with the neighborhood years ago, and so just for public edification, Henderson Avenue was really the first of our neighborhood parking programs, long before any of the others. The needs have really just accelerated as the years have gone on, and the UGA transit has picked up and dropped off people, particularly who live at the Greek houses. In an ordinance update just a couple of years ago, the 24/7 version of the program that Henderson was living under was accidentally kind of pulled out from under them, and this item would restore that.
And I'm sorry, I should have called on you first because that's your district. Ms. Bell, did you have something to say?
The main thing is the clarification of what happened and why, and to know it was brought forward to me. And I go to our Miss Jean, who always helps us resolve whatever. And I was unknown to what the background was until that email came through. But thank you for taking care of this for these citizens.
Yeah. And for the public that's here, this is a 24-hour prohibition, where in most of our parking prohibitions, they're just during business hours. But this is one that falls under the 24-hour parking prohibition. Ms. Link?
I have a question. How would a neighborhood that's part of that parking program request that 24-hour prohibition? Because I know that with the health sciences campus being active, there are some streets that I know are facing some of those challenges outside of the typical 8 to 5 hours.
I have to talk with staff. Until this came up, we didn't know that there was such a thing.
Yeah, I didn't
So, yeah. So it was something that was done back then. Don't know if it was just summarily done by the mayor and commission at the vote, or if there was a process they went through. So we'll look into that.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion, second. We have all in favor?
Do we have,
Did we have a
motion?
second?
We need a motion.
Well, I thought we had, do you want to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make the motion that we accept this resolution.
Have a motion, do I have a motion second now?
Thank
All
you.
in favor?
Okay.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay. We will now go to,
Did
I
we
did-
vote?
I thought we did.
No, say-
I asked for it, I just didn't hear the voices. All in favor?
Aye. There we
Any
go.
opposed?
Go
Okay.
dogs again.
We're having a fun meeting tonight, okay. We will now go to our public hearing and deliberation on recommendations from the Athens-Clarke County Planning Commission, and we do these one at a time. This is items 12, 13, and 14. So this would be the time for anybody who would like to speak to item number 12 to come forward to the podium and give us your information. Anybody want to comment on item number 12? Okay, seeing none, we'll come behind the rail, and that's in Mr. Hamby's district.
Yes, ma'am. I'll make a motion, we approve the request.
Second.
Have a motion, second. Yes, sir.
Questions?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Go ahead and read the ordinance, and I'll get back to Mr. Neesmith.
The first is an ordinance to amend the code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to amending the official future development map of Athens-Clarke County by changing the designation of two parcels of land comprising approximately 12.17 acres located at 610 Epsbridge Parkway and 1614 Timothy Road to single-family residential and for other purposes. The next is an ordinance to amend the code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to special use approval in the RS-25 single-family residential district for two parcels of land comprising approximately 12.17 acres located at 610 Epsbridge Parkway and 1645 Timothy Road and for other purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Behrman. Mr. Neesmith?
Yeah, perhaps Brad can help me with this. It's a matter of public record that there's a planned development rezoning to RS8. Where a driveway this is not part of the driveway? That was my question. Okay, so this has.
Totally different.
Totally different?
Yes.
Well, okay. Thank you very much.
Any other further clarification anybody needs? Okay, we have a motion. Did we have a second?
Well, I've got to
Yeah,
make a
Mr.
motion
yeah.
to approve the future development map.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now you have
I'll
another
make a
motion.
motion to approve the special use.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, guys. Now we'll go to item number 13, which is a request for rezoning of property from CG to E1 Employment Industrial, and this is at, on Commerce Road for a warehouse use. Anyone wish to speak to this one? Okay, seeing none, we'll come behind the rail, and I believe this is in Mr. Bailey's district.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor. This request is an appropriate request, appropriate rezoning with some conditions that were applied to the approval by the Planning Commission that I think would address any concerns about this addition to the existing business being any sort of way disruptive to what's out there already. So I think it's a very reasonable request. We've got some good conditions in place, and I think that we should approve it, and I'd like to make a motion to approve it, please.
May I second it?
We have a motion and a second. We have an ordinance, Mr. Behrman.
An ordinance to amend the code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to rezoning a parcel of land comprising approximately 3.105 acres located at 1945, 1949, and 1951 Commerce Road from CG Commercial General to EI Employment Industrial and for other purposes.
Is there any further discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're moving along pretty fast now. Although looking at the audience, I'm not sure how fast it'll be.
Yeah.
This is our last opportunity for citizen input. Oh, we've got one more item. Number 14, we have a text amendment Anyone wish to speak to that item? Item number 14. Seeing none, we'll come behind the rail. Yep.
I was part of, or I've listened to the Planning Commission. This was a text amendment that was generated by staff, and it makes sense. I think it doesn't do any harm as far as being able to give the director some administrative decision-making and moving lot lines, lot boundaries, but it doesn't create any new non-conforming lots in the process, so I think it's a good thing for everybody. So I'll make a motion to approve this text amendment.
We have a second. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Link?
I have a quick question. Did this text amendment come out of the infill housing ordinance at all? Was this a result of any issues that have come up with that? When is that ordinance scheduled to come up? We were supposed to get a report back after it had been in action about a year. Is that coming up?
We're close. I think a couple more months. I mean, I can tell you now, we've not had any variances requested as a result of that ordinance at this point, but I think we're 2 or 3 months out from reporting back officially after a year.
Yeah, I just wanted to check
No,
up
this
on that.
this was really more, this would apply across the board to all zones, but where we see the most of this is in our AR zones for lots that were never 10 acres to start with, and so they're stuck trying to even adjust the property line. But if adopted, it would apply across the board in any zoning district.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a motion, second. All in favor?
Got to read an ordinance.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize we had an ordinance on this one.
An ordinance to amend the code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to the general exception for lot size requirements and for other purposes.
Thank you, Ms. Bierman. All in favor of the ordinance change?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I know people out there are dying to talk to us, and this is the time. Any item that is not on tonight's agenda, any citizen may speak to us for 3 minutes. And again, please give us your name and your address, and we'll hear what you have to say.
Hello, Devin Clower, 375 and a half Holman Avenue. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of pretty much the entire downtown Athens business community in regards to the schedule of the Clayton Street streetscaping project. We have circulated a petition, and I'm going to read it to you and read everybody that has signed it. Dear members of the Athens-Clarke County Mayor and Commission, we write to express concerns with the Clayton Street T-Splosh project's proposed timeline. The flagpole reports the Athens government estimates the project will take 16 months. The proposed start date is this May of 2018, running until August of 2019. That means downtown will be disrupted during the 2018 football season and the 2018 holiday season, the most profitable time of the year. And if the project takes longer than planned, it could disrupt the 2019 football and holiday season too. A meeting to discuss this project was held on Tuesday, January 30th, hosted by the Downtown Athens Business Association. Commissioner Kelly Gertz and Mayor Nancy Denson were in attendance. We humbly propose construction for this project begin on January 1st, 2019, and will be completed by August of 2019, before football season. If the project extends beyond that time, we ask construction to be done in 2 phases with no construction between September 1st and December 31st. The added time before construction begins will allow for comprehensive public input and best practices for the ultimate design. I'm going to read a list of all of the businesses that we were able to get to since Thursday. Jim Adams with Adams Optics, Ari Edwards, Agora Vintage, Ryan Myers, Amici, Patricia Ruppersberg, Aram, Keith Neese, Barbaritos, Sam Johnson, Bear Hug Honey, Jason Jacobs, Cheeky Peach, Katie Jacobs, Cheeky Peach, Ann Shepard, Chick Piano, Catherine Bobin, Sillies, Sonny Baumgardner, Community, Patrick DePialo, sorry about name pronunciations, Cutter's Pub, Lori Pollock at Dynamite, Melissa McGill, Fabric, Jason Leonard, Flanagan's, Devin Clower, Frontier, Rhonda Clower, Frontier, Rusty Heary's 2, Heary's and a property owner, Danielle Wine, High Country Outfitters, Loriana Livingston, JCG Apparel, Peter All, Coombs Fashions, Frank Cortese, Little Italy, Jill Furman, Margot Jewelry, John J. MacArthur of MacArthur & MacArthur, Jane Scott, Native America Gallery, Tim Stamey, Native America Gallery, Jessica Barton, Onward Reserve, Suzanne Yeager, Onward Reserve, Courtney Gee, Pattaya, Sandra Brown, Tina's Jewelry, Norm Schultz, The Globe. Almost done. Maggie Rice, The Impeccable Pig, Morgan Miller, The Indigo Child, Frederick Huska, and Sandra Huska, The Lampkin Building, Peter Dale of The National, Melinda and Scott Toe of The Red Zone, and Eric Nelson of Walker's Pub. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clower. If you'll just give it to Mr. Berryman.
We
we'll make
gave a
sure it's-
copy earlier.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Russell Edwards, 400 Duncan Springs Road. I rise to support my fellow downtown business owner, Devin Clower, who has worked very hard outside of business hours to circulate this letter and to get folks to sign it. Everyone we've spoke to has gotten on board. I mean, if the objective is not to disrupt 2 football seasons, then the best time to start this project is right after a football season. So that's what we propose, January 1st, let's break ground, let's do what we have to do on Clayton Street. And then we have about 9 months to get Clayton Street in the condition where we can then, again, welcome the tourism that comes with the football season and then all of the commerce that happens for the holiday season. Business owners are deeply concerned with how this project has come thus far. I was talking with Ann Shepard today, and she told me how when the project was done in her part of Clayton Street, the front of her store was blocked for 2 weeks. And she told me that thankfully they had a loading dock that fed out to Washington Street, and they were able to stay open for business because they had a loading dock, but that the entire area was tore up in front of her store for 2 weeks. So I think it's understandable that small businesses on Clayton Street are deeply concerned with the trajectory of this project, and we humbly propose and hope we can work together to really make this the best possible project that it can be, because that's what we deserve. This is a great city, you know, and downtown is producing a lot of these sales taxes that's funding this T-Splosh. So let's work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Anyone else wish to speak to us tonight?
Tim Stamey, Native America Gallery. Go Dogs. You're a mayor of your word. I think when we win next year, you should up the ante and maybe have them wear a cheerleader's outfit.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. This is, with no disrespect, I felt I needed to sign on this petition only because it's a sensible approach to me. There's still a lot of questions to be, answered, and a lot of concerns. There's more concerns now than I ever thought. So I just wanted to. I think that it would shorten the duration in the long run. It's not, by no means, we're not trying to slow down the project. We're trying to pick the best time to start it so that it can be done, expeditiously with a shorter duration, less impact. I also, I still believe that there was some information that it was presented to you all that's incorrect. I found some disagreements with a few things that I think matter, and it goes back to the way it was sold with the existing cross-section. And I think that we're looking at it one way in the width and what's going to happen, but we're not considering the urban downtown that's been there a long time with a lot of things underneath it, a lot of brick, a lot of things, uncertainty. And there's a bad cross slope when you cross College. It's probably going to end up being retaining walls and stairs and things like that. I think we just need to look at it a little closer. And I started to think how it happened so quickly over the holidays, and I wish this crowd was there was there over that, because there was very few. It was not very many people here when such a big decision was being made. But honestly, the construction itself is a big undertaking. I think it's the uncertainty, but the way I tried to come to every meeting, and the way it was presented, there was some discrepancies. I have not talked to Derek yet. I've been pretty busy. I'm kind of be busy all the way up probably till the middle of February. It's just the nature of our business. But I will try and talk with him and thank David Lynn. He's the one that suggested I do go talk to him and make sure that he sees what I think I've found. Having said that, I think that's also a good reason to maybe take a closer look at it. The vote was, a lot of people don't know that it went to from 3-lane to 2-lane just to widen the sidewalk. And there's other ways to get a wider sidewalk. You could actually do wheel stops so that there's not that much of an overhang. There's several ways. I won't go into the details. It all does need to be improved to meet the construction schedule that we're trying to do, which is anybody's guess. It's going to be difficult. The best approach is probably to keep it close to where it is.
Mr. Sting, I'm sorry, your time's up.
Okay.
I was trying to let you finish.
Can I ask one question, please?
Yes.
Is there any way, the way that the form went and everything, can I email to the commissioners any
Absolutely.
photos, any information so that if I do talk to Derek, that you all know, it's not secondhand, that this is what I'm going to talk to him about. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Yes,
All right.
sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Anyone else wish to speak to us? Okay, seeing none, we'll come back behind the rail then. Thank you all for being here, and we're hearing you loud and clear. Now's the time we get our reports from our staff and our commissioners. I have the first opportunity. One, I want to remind our commissioners that we have a work session, retreat follow-up on Thursday, the 8th at 5:30 at 120 Daugherty Street, so hope everybody be able to make that. And I have one item tonight that I want to refer to our Legislative Review Committee. And I don't know whether these are on your desk or in your box, but I gave everybody a copy of this, and it relates to curfew for minors. And this is a letter from the NAACP, and their officers had come in and talked to me, and we had a discussion about this, and I've also talked to Mr. Berryman. I believe we need to hear from our police department, and it needs to have more review than just trying to create an ordinance and bring it forward. So I'm going to send this to the Legislative Review Committee, and they have a grave concern about minors that are out late at night without an adult supervision. And I think it's a very valid concern, so we'll send that to the Legislative Review Committee. And with that, I'll ask Mr. Williams if he has anything for us.
No, ma'am.
Ms. Maddox?
Yes, just wanted to mention that the audit committee will be meeting next Wednesday at 4:30, room 103 in this building. Thank you.
Mr. Berryman, do you have anything for us?
Nothing, thanks.
Okay, we'll now hear from our commissioners, and we'll start with Mr. Gertz and go around the room and end with Ms. Link.
2 items tonight, Madam Mayor. One is kind of a small geographic item, and it concerns the site triangle at the corner of Hull Street and Doherty Street. Got a call about it from the neighboring church today, First AME. And what I noticed when I walked by is that the typical 50-foot yellow painted segment from the corner is not painted yellow, so people are parking almost right up to the corner. So that's one component that may be an issue. And the other thing that I noticed is that what could be eventual bulb outs in those areas that are white striped are not bulb outs, they're simply white striped. So when people are stopping right where the curb ends on Doherty Street, the visibility may not be what it ultimately will be should there be bulb outs there in a future iteration. So that's kind of one geographically confined thing. The other one is countywide. I've gotten a couple calls lately from people who are interested in seeing if there was something we could do through our Public Utilities Department to spread out the cost of the initial water or sewer connection fee in much the same way that through our homeowners assessment when we do street upgrades or traffic calming, that those things now can be spread out over 10 years as well. So I'd be interested in seeing if public utilities could consider a program like that. I mean, really complementary to the program that we've just entered into with Salvation Army to take care of people's needs around their monthly bills.
And I want to make sure I understood. Are you talking about the deposit that people are required to make?
The connection fee.
Oh, connection fee, okay. Great. Mr. Sims?
I guess this is a time we'll be announcing on next Tuesday that I will be resigning from this position in order to run for mayor of the city of Athens. And it is a state requirement that I resign, so that's why I'll be resigning. And the reason that I am doing it at this time is in order for us to have a special called election the same day that we have the election for mayor, so that this seat will not be vacant any longer than it has to be. And according to our director of Board of Elections, there needs to be a 90-day time period for the call for that special election. So in order to make that happen and to save the taxpayers money so that we won't have a separate election for just one district, that we can do all of this at that one time. And I would just like to say, as a point of personal privilege, it has been a pleasure for the past 25 years to work in this government as a commissioner. And 2 years prior to the unification, I served as a city council person. So I think that as we make the effort to move forward, that things are going to be great regardless of whether I sit in this seat or not. But I am thankful to all the citizens over the years who thought it not robbery to constantly re-elect me to this particular office. So now I am moving to the next step in that process, and hopefully some of the citizens of Athens-Clarke County will also see fit to help me move into that position. If not, I am still as happy as I can be, because I know that what I've done for Athens-Clarke County has been from the heart. And I will always be grateful to everybody in Athens-Clarke County, regardless of win or lose. It has always been my privilege to serve the citizens of Athens-Clarke County. As a native Athenian, I have given it all, and I will continue to give it all even after I leave this seat. But on the 13th of February, I will be stepping down in order, as I said, to make a change so that we can fill this seat as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Before Sharon says anything, I'm going to take a point of personal privilege, because I didn't know you were going to make this announcement tonight. And I'd like to say thank you for your consideration of the taxpayers' dollars, also to make sure that there's representation in your district. But I would like to say that I had so much respect for Mr. Sims over the years. I heard stories about him as a school teacher and watched his performance as an elected official, but I have really come to have great respect for your skill and your thoughtfulness and your diligence on this commission, and I want to thank you, Mr. Sims. Ms. Dickerson?
Thank you, Mayor. And I like to say I grew up as an employee with him on the commission, and now I get to sit next to him. I feel very honored to have had the opportunity to do both, so we will miss him. And I will miss him as a seatmate. So I wanted to thank you very much, Mayor, for allowing us an opportunity to recognize the Envision Athens Steering Committee tonight. They have done a lot of work, a lot more than probably most people realize. And so I thought it was really important. This is really the only I recognize people that way, so I appreciate you letting us do that tonight. I I have received a number of calls from citizens in my district about a lot of litter that they've seen, and I've acknowledged I've seen the same as well along Lexington Road, Beaver Dam Road, and Whitehall Road. I mean, literally, I don't think it's because they came in, I don't think it's because people came in and trash is being thrown off. I think it's just accumulation over time, and I don't know if we're not staying on top of that or what. I know Lexington Road obviously is a state road, and there's different rules on that, but we also have a landfill out there, and we do have commitments we've made to the public about keeping that road clean. So I'd like to ask the manager to look into what we can do to address those areas. And then I have an announcement on behalf of Commissioner Harrod, myself, and Michelle Roche, who is a publicist and a District 8 resident, to let everyone know that we have joined our forces together, and we are bringing together the first annual Eastside Athens Spring Fling Festival on Saturday, April the 7th. It will be held from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. at Southeast-Clarke Park. It is presented by Synovus, which is formerly Athens First Bank and Trust. Activities are going to include a business expo by the East Athens Business Leaders Association, kid activities, there will be bands, food trucks, beer garden, yoga, BMX, bike, and skateboarding demos, as well as some other things that we're still working on. Our current sponsors include the mayor through the CIP effort, Georgia Power, AT&T, Jittery Joe's, Michelle Roche Promotions, Flagpole, and Athens Printing Company. We'll hope everybody will mark their calendars and will join us. We have, it's from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. We have a Facebook page, Athens Spring Fling. We also have a website up. We're currently constructing it because we're getting more information as we're moving along, but so bear with us, but it's athensspringfling.com. And if anybody's interested in sponsorship opportunities, you can go to the website and get information there. So
What was the date again?
April the 7th, it's Saturday. That's all.
Sounds like fun. Thank you.
Thanks.
Ms. Bell.
I'm just glad we could do another Go Dogs. Thank you.
I just have a couple of things, Madam Mayor. Thank you. I was expecting Commissioner Sims to do this at some point in time. I wasn't expecting it tonight, though. Way to bring down a party. But I'm just joking. But I'm also very grateful for Commissioner Sims for 25 years of his service on this commission. That's something to be real proud of. Something that this community has benefited from. And I know over the years, before I was even on this commission, I would observe Commissioner Sims and say I'd like to do as good a job as he's done over the years. And I still have a ways to go, and still have a lot to learn from Commissioner Sims. But I'm a slow learner, so I'll put it that way. And I don't know if I'll last 25 years. I don't know if the people I represent want me to last 25 years. So at any rate, thank you, Commissioner Sims, for all you've done for Athens, for this commission, and for this government. I'd also like to reiterate what Commissioner Dickerson said about trash. And I've had a few comments about trash as well, especially along Timothy near the bypass in Berkeley Hills, about taking a look at that area. But I also wonder, too, why we don't, and I remember Commissioner Hort had brought this up before she left, why we don't put up the signs about littering and fining for littering. And you go through other communities and you see all sorts of signs that you're going to pay an arm and a leg if you throw the McDonald's wrapper out of the car. And I think that's something we ought to look at as well, to let people know that we do take it seriously. And if you see the sign up, you might think twice about throwing something out of the car. So anyway, those are my two thoughts. And so thank you.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I want to thank you for allowing Andy Harrod and I to be invited to the EMS Oversight Committee meeting at Athens Regional last week, where this is the committee that's made up from folks from Oconee County, from the hospital, from the ambulance service, and also emergency physicians and some others who oversee the ambulance service, which is under contract, National EMS, to the two hospitals in which the two counties contribute to the funding of that contract. We learned a lot, and we'll be sharing that with everyone as time goes by, including the public. Things about what is response time, when is it important, when is it not so important, how important is a well-trained public in responding to emergencies like heart attacks and bleeding, and the development of our fire department's EMT service, which people probably don't know about, but we have EMT, emergency medical technicians, and I think maybe every fire station now. and they roll when there's an emergency, when there's a 911 call, they roll. So they get there usually before the ambulance does, but that's okay. These are trained medical technicians. They're there to save your life if you're bleeding, if you have a heart attack or whatever going on. So it isn't all just about the ambulance response time. It's about this great force multiplier that our fire chief has put in place, and these great firemen who have gone through the EMT training at Athens-Tech, which is not easy. So the other thing, public service announcement. Disposable wipes are not flushable. I don't care if it says they're flushable, they're not. They're clogging up our sewers. We've had 2 sewer clogs downstream from Bernie Harris Lyons Middle School in the last 3 or 4 months. And I'm told that what was causing it were wipes, probably from that school. So I'm going to be reaching out, and I hope that others will too, including our PUD department, our Public Utilities Department, to ask the schools not to put disposable wipes in the schools. Washing your hands with soap and water is the most effective way to prevent flu. Short of that, then you use the little spray things with the sanitary fluid. But this industry is doing us a big disfavor by calling these flushable or disposable. They're not. They belong in the garbage can. Hospitals are also a problem, I'm told, that the downstream sewers from hospitals are having a problem with this, and also some of our personal care homes. So we've got to educate the public, or we're going to spend a lot of money, and we're going to pollute a lot of streams, which we've done already because of these things. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neesmith. Mr. Bailey?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I would like to confirm that Commissioner Hamby is a slow learner. And I'd like to do something we don't do enough of behind the rail here, and that's thank some of our staff members. I won't go into specific people too much, but Transportation and Public Works, always very responsive for things like, potholes and any other problems that have to do with streets and signage and all the things that we take for granted sometimes. We get great service from those individuals. And I'd also like to recognize Frank Stevens, the Director of Public Utilities, his willingness to call individuals about concerns about things like their sewers. He's the director of the department, but he's still willing to do the frontline work, and that's commendable. Also, I am on the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and I'd like to commend our staff, the planning staff, for all the hard work they've put into this. This is something we have to do every 10 years, and the comprehensive plan is something that the commission and the staff use as a guideline for what we're going to do, our vision for the next 10 years. And it's a very useful tool, and we're putting a lot of work into it, and of course the staff is as well. I'd like to thank them. Also, I want to thank the always knowledgeable and effective Jean Spratlin for all she does for us. She is such an asset to us. I know she doesn't like us to praise her too much, but we couldn't praise her enough, I don't think. And the comment from Commissioner Hamby reminded me that I should have turned in a complaint about some litter on Nowhere Road. Actually, Commissioner Harrod was the one that told me about it. He said he drove down the road and saw a lot of litter, and I forgot to turn it in. So I'll mention it now because Sharon and Mike were talking about litter. Made me think of it. And that's all I've got. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Well, if we're going to talk trash, I'm going to have to chime in. The manager's snapshot, the last one that just came out, has a lot of good stats in comparing the amount of the tons of litter that's being picked up, and it is epidemic, the amount of increase that's happening, and it's clear that everybody else is seeing it out there. And maybe we could look into something that says we have to cover when you're hauling something, like if you're getting mulch or something, and it might be that we need to start doing something about covering the backs of pickup trucks, because things can fly out of those. People aren't realizing, yes, Mike, covering the back of your pickup truck. But anyway, it's getting to where our landscape teams and crews are litter crews only. And so being on the board of Keep Athens-Clarke County Beautiful, it's constantly, every month, talking about how overwhelming it is. And Commissioner Neesmith, one of the newest launch is showing what's not flushable, which are those wipes. We've got some vehicles that are wrapped with some of that sort of public awareness that we're trying to do. But it does seem like every one of those sewer spills that we get, the reason that's in there is rags or wipes or that kind of thing. So it's an ongoing problem for the community, and I'm not sure what it's going to take. And it could be that we do start doing a little better job of going ahead and writing those tickets when it's seen by the police. I wanted to commend Commissioner Sims for his selfless approach for doing, resigning is such a huge thing to do, especially after all this time, and to do the homework that you've done like you always do on topics with the Board of Elections to find out what can be done for the process to go as smooth as possible. It's going to be really hard for us to explain why your chair's empty, but I'm glad that it is for a good reason that you're going to be running for mayor. And I also am glad to know that we can have what it sounds like is the election for your replacement to happen on the ballot in May with the other planned commissions, which are the odd numbered. We don't want to call them the odd commissioners, the odd numbered commissioners that are going up for reelection. And since Commissioner Sims is an even numbered commission, he's in the middle of his 4 years, which is why he has to resign versus an odd-numbered commissioner that is running for mayor does not have to because his term ends as a commissioner at the same time. It's very confusing. Anything, Lee, that you can do in the paper to help us get that out to and explain how confusing it is. But Mr. Sims, this is coming ahead of time. I don't know if I would have been ready with more warning, but really appreciate working with you. And it's very clear that being a fifth grade teacher is very helpful to deal with this group that your classes that have come and gone behind the rail. But I've learned a lot from you, and we'll miss you.
I want to acknowledge the downtown business owners that came out tonight. I did not know that they were going to be here, and I did not know that they had a petition. You know, as y'all will recall, when that item regarding Clayton Street came through last month over the Christmas holidays, I was the only one who really pushed for a proper public input process and actually voted against the item because we did not have that process. Ironically or coincidentally, I had just emailed the manager earlier today some pleas for that proper public input process to take place with all our T-SPLOS projects moving forward. As we see, by not having that process, we have folks coming back to us, and it could delay projects even more if we have an unsatisfied public who feels like they have not had the proper input or even been made properly aware of projects. It's really important that we get folks aware and involved in the very, very, very front end before items even come before this commission. And I do have some concerns about the makeup of these user groups that are making some really, really important decisions regarding these projects. These user groups are primarily staff members and a couple of citizens that are chosen by staff members. Oftentimes, the staff on the user groups are department heads and subordinates. The likelihood is they're all going to vote the same way on projects. I understand that there's not full information being presented in front of some of these user groups, so I really feel like that process needs to be closely examined and reconsidered so we can assure that these T-SPLOS projects, which are proposed by the public and evaluated by a very balanced public committee and voted on by the public, we assure that they truly have the public's interest at heart. I also want to point out that, we talked a little bit about the comp plan, and the final steering committee meeting for that is tomorrow night. That's Wednesday night at 5:30 at the planning department. This is really the final chance for folks to hear the committee's views on the plan and hear some discussion and offer some public input. And I also want to acknowledge the passing of a dear friend. Rich Rusk left us about a week ago. We laid him to rest yesterday. Most people might know Rich as the son of the late, great Dean Rusk, but he was a rabid activist on issues of peace and racial justice and the environment. I met Rich through my work as an environmental activist. He had probably one of the biggest hearts of anyone that ever set foot on this earth, and these are rough times to be an activist, especially an environmental activist and an activist for racial justice. And it's a dark world we live in, and we have big shoes to fill. And, with Rich Kahn, we have all the more reason to keep fighting. So he's going to be greatly missed. And my heart goes out to his loved ones. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Lincoln. But before we adjourn, I do want to clarify something just to be sure. Our T-SPLOS projects that we've just voted on will have a citizens overview committee, just as all of our SPLOS projects do. We have the user group that is probably staff heavy, but every one of these projects have to go before an overview committee of citizens, and that committee has been appointed, and half the people that were on the T-SPLOS committee that planned those projects are now on the overview committee. And their job is to, as these projects come forward, to look at what the citizens voted on and make sure that what we're doing is complying with what the citizens wanted. So I wanted to make that clear to everybody so that they do know that what we voted on is what's going to be implemented. So, thank you all. Do we have a motion?
I'll move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody want to stay all night? Thank you, everybody.